Ready to go?
We're good. Go ahead.
Welcome back to Behind the Ballot, where politics meets real life. We break down state and federal issues, showing how policy shapes everyday Americans. Engaged, balanced, and informative. That's our promise. And I'm your host, Mikhail Jenkins.
And this is Muhammad Ali joining in. We've got a new setup, ladies and gentlemen, if you can tell. We're doing actually
Yes.
getting a little bit fancier with it. I am doing some on the production end of things, and we hope you guys like it. We've still got the famous ticker, as you can see. We wanted to make sure to keep that in. You guys got to make sure every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Got to have that there. But
Yes. Yes.
we've got a lot coming in today of interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. So we're just gonna get right into it, Mikhail. Why don't you get us started?
Yeah, so we're going to get right into it. So, on the international stage, where we always and normally start, focusing on the US Iran war updates, the 14-point deal, market timing questions, and the Strait of Hormuz control. So, the US and Iran appear to be moving toward a preliminary 14-point memorandum of understanding designed to end the ongoing war, which opens the door to a more detailed nuclear negotiations and address the critical flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, which has been choked by the president's blockade and also by the placing of mines by Iran. According to the
Yeah, I just want to
framework,
add as
framework,
well.
yeah, yeah,
Iran has their own issues getting rid of their mines after they deploy
yeah,
them,
yes,
which
yes,
is
yes, they
kind of
do.
very funny to think about. I understand fully why they deploy them, like we're being invaded. We want to control
Yeah,
this.
it's
If we put the
understandable.
mines in, no one can control it, but us. Well, they can at that point with all the mines there, they were having their own issues. But go back ahead. I just wanted to add that little detail because I think it's interesting seeing how well they can manage themselves in this situation. Because I think people might ask, well, what's going on with in terms of the United States? Is that they've approached what's going on? Are they just feigning back because of geopolitical possibilities, escalation reasons, or is it just because they're actually afraid of what might happen? And honestly, I don't blame the U.S. for saying minefield in the water. No, not even going to touch it. I really don't like. What are you gonna do when the government, the country that themselves deployed it, can hardly sometimes handle it? They had
Literally though, it's yeah, it's insane. And they were even talking about what the dolphins, the Iranian dolphins, I think, what having missiles or something of that nature.
irate the
It,
dolphins. They got dolphins
yeah,
with missiles strapped on them, like
yeah,
literal
yeah,
dolphins. No way, no way.
yeah, insane. The rhetoric is insane on the type of military capabilities
I'd
both
have to see
sides
this.
have.
This sounds like
Honestly,
some Family Guy, Family Guy ass military having
well,
some.
it's more close to Austin Powers, because actually one of the generals, when he was speaking, actually stated that he like made a funny joke and said dolphins with missiles, it's kind of sounds like sharks with lasers, and that's what
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Evil says within the movie. But sticking to kind of that 14-point memorandum, so according to the framework, which is reported by Axios, of course, the deal would include Iran agreeing to a moratorium on uranium enrichment for 12 to 15 years, the United States lifting sanctions and releasing billions in frozen Iranian assets, both sides removing restrictions on the strait through through the Strait of Hormuz. And then you have a immediate end to the war, followed by a 30-day negotiation window. Mediation efforts by Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are being credited with Iran and Saudi talks reportedly taking place during a recent China visit. And according to several news sources close to the matter, President Trump has told Fox News that a memorandum of understanding is going to be reached. And also, he told the New York Post separately that it is still too soon to prepare for any formal peace signing,
Yeah.
noting that Israel was not even aware of the proposal and remains ready to resume fighting, which is something of short that we all know Israel has been always prepared for. They want to have this fighting intensify and continue to where they just, have a prolonged war with Iran, unfortunately.
And I mean, the
And
funny thing is here is this is really a case of no one's surprised that Israel still wants to continue fighting. I mean, we've seen that even the country themselves disregard the lives of, what their servicemen think. 'Cause we've seen a lot of uh, pretty high profile instances of people from the IDF going to the court, going to the judicial system of Israel and complaining about the treatment, and nothing really changes. Not to say that these people aren't actively promoting and taking part in what's happening. They are, absolutely they are. But it's more of an issue of, well, even when you get people who want to participate in this evil action and behavior of the Israeli government, the Israeli military, even then the government still says, well, even more evil than that, we won't take care of your issues, even after, just because you have to murder some children, as they say as it goes in the IDF, doesn't mean you have to get these special funds, be recompensated, reimbursed for what happens to you for wartime damages. Now, the U.S. is actually pretty dang good and big at. It depends on the way you look at it. Actually, depends on the way you look at it. The VA will fund some disabilities if you can prove they're service related, very, very loosely, But some other things they'll like fight tooth and nail to be able to prevent you from getting funds for. Whereas, but when it comes to the IDF, these people, the military themselves and the government don't really show much support after the military campaigns are done of their soldiers. It's like once you're done going around doing these crimes that we need you to do, we don't care. And so I really wonder how much they. It's tough to say, and this is a bit of a little ramble. We'll get back to the Iran peace deal because I think it relates back to that. And then I think Israel really is ready to go send as many people of their own to the death as needed until something within their own country happens. And the thing is, because they're not really used to having people die because they use a lot of superior military equipment compared to the countries they're generally fighting, which is
Yeah.
the people, the children and women of Palestine. And I hate the chuckle there, but it's true that they literally go fight against children and women, and they think that they're a very like amazing military. And on top of that, the fighting in southern Lebanon is largely driven just by bombing and missile strikes. There's hardly any actual ground momentum unless when the situation's already been cleared up with bombs. So it's
Literally.
really just a matter of, well, now they're going against Iran, and this is, I'm sure they feel this way. If the United States isn't involved in this war, there's no chance they can fight Iran alone. So, with the United States involved, they want to delay and stall peace talks as much as possible or just completely shut them down. I think that's what we're going to continue seeing from them for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, especially for the foreseeable future. And you were talking on about them sending their own to fight and die. And it's even been reported that we've talked about in this podcast how if there was a ground operation from the United States, that the IDF and Israel would not even send their troops
Yeah.
to be boots on the ground. So
They
as we
prefer to be
continuously
ours.
say, yeah, they want it to be ours. They want American blood to be spilled for their own interest. And as this peace proposal is being talked about and discussed, Iran officials have pushed back sharply against the Axios reporting, with a senior Iranian military professional describing the document as more an American wish list than reality, and stating that several clauses are unacceptable. Iranian sources emphasize that current discussions focus solely on ending the war, and that any attempt to tie in nuclear issues makes a deal impossible as long as the US insists on addressing enrichment. Iran has also publicly called the Axios report speculation at best and accused the outlet of serving a tool for the White House market manipulation, which there has been a lot of that, which we're going to get into next. There was a lot of manipulation going on regarding all of these statements and even reporting from Axios, to where you even have individuals on Twitter stating that that reporter should technically be arrested because it's lies that they are putting out about a peace plan, being on the table when you have Iranian officials pointing to the exact opposite, and it's all fueled by these trades that have been happening since the beginning of this presidency. When you even look at earlier episodes with this podcast when we talked about the press secretary and her speech that she gave, which ended minutes before the poly market odds. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the poly market odds that they
It was literally
had.
like 30
It was like they were
seconds.
spot on.
It was like 20, 30 seconds. Not even. It was like shorter than that. And she just abruptly ended the speech. I mean,
Yeah, literally just abruptly ended it. No questions, walked right off.
yeah.
And that's that level of skepticism and speculation that leads to a lot of individuals to think that there is true insider trading happening inside the Trump administration that is benefiting Trump and his inner allies. There are multiple whistleblowers that have alleged that Axios coordinated the release with market insiders, leaking CME order information via phone calls up to 30 minutes before market open and close prints. And Iranian political analysts have gone further, claiming that Trump, Wickoff, Kushner, and other associates profited heavily in the hours following the report. Our own analysis of trading data shows that approximately 10,000 crude oil short contracts worth roughly 920 million in notional value were placed at 3:40 a.m. Eastern Time, a full 70 minutes before the Axios story broke at 4:50 a.m. Eastern Time.
That's crazy.
Oil prices then dropped more than 12%, delivering an estimated 125 million gain to those short positions before surging 8% again minutes after Iran launched its new Persian Gulf Strait Authority website. So just from this and all of the other reporting we've done on the level of manipulation from outside individuals or even inside individuals of this administration, it's getting pretty
At least
egregious at
someone,
this point.
I'll say, if it's not somebody on the inside who's doing the trading, it's someone on the inside who's leaking the information that's leading
Yeah,
to the
at least
trading.
leaking the information. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's a sad sight to see that, we've had multiple conservatives throughout decades always criticize Democrats about their woes and things, which at some points there are valid fingers pointed, but in an instance like this, it's like it's basically crickets.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's
basically
because it's their
nothing's
guy in
being said
charge. It's
about
their guy who's in power. It's their guy who's going about doing all this nonsense. That's really them allowing them to say, "Oh yeah,
it. Yeah.
we're fine with it. We're gonna go alongside it." And if
No,
this
yeah,
is a
that's exactly
Democrat
right.
in charge doing this, if this was Biden, oh my God, imagine the pearl clutching would be crazy.
Well, yeah, the pearl clutching was the whole Burisma stuff with that lawyer, and he got the lawyer off the case that I think was dealing with his son, and then getting his son on the Burisma board, things of that nature, getting influx of cash, of all that stuff. We all know that story ran for months and years at a time, and we're seeing that this is talked about on Twitter and so forth, but it's not specifically picked up on the national news media cycle. It may be talked about in a few breaths, but it's not truly dove into the level of market manipulation that is actually happening, especially as prediction markets are running rampant
Yeah.
throughout the nation, realistically.
Honestly, I think it's unbelievable too that how much the prediction markets are allowed to just encompass everything. I mean, I was thinking about this. Like, if somebody with the World Cup coming up, there could be a poly market for a streaker at a certain game. You could just bet that that there's gonna be a streaker, and then you go be the streaker. You know, now, people have done stuff like this before. Like, I'm not gonna say the detail of it, but do you remember the WNBA situation with the poly market odds? Like, who could throw the one item onto the court? Like, what color would it be?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I
remember
remember when all those things were happening during what that was like the WNBA when they were in action. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember
and
that.
it's just like, this is so ripe for manipulation already. You know, people just being able to lose their money. I mean, but at the same time, two things. When it comes to the actions, there's a few things I'm fine with. Like the streaking one, yeah, sure, anybody could be a streaker. But that's just an example. But the two examples. One, aside from what's happening with the government, that's the big first example. We're seeing a lot of manipulation and fraud going on. Second
Yeah.
one is I remember there was one case of the temperature gauge around, I forget what country it was. I think it was in England, UK, that there was a polymarket odd about whether or not the temperature would reach a certain point,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes. Yes.
yeah, if the
Saw that.
temperature would reach a certain point in this town, in this like city, and the weather detecting that they were using was this one based out of an airport. So a guy just went to there, snuck over the fence, used a hair dryer to heat it up,
Yeah.
had it
Yeah.
go register above the degrees that it needed to hit, and then he made his money. And it's just
Yeah.
stuff like this. I mean, it's just like,
Just really shows you how far people are willing to go, and also in some breaths how bad things have gotten, that now the betting market industry has now incorporated predictions to be able to allow Americans to bet on, to give them the face value that they can actually get rich off of those prediction trades. And it's not to say that it's a fantasy, because it can happen, but when it comes to
it
those,
could.
you need money to make money. You need to at least throw down 100, 300, 500, 1,000 to actually turn a reasonable profit, especially if you're looking to continuously win. Like, yeah, you can throw your odds. Like, yeah, I did it for fun. I threw, I think, $3 for the Lakers to win the NBA championship. It's $3 to win, like, I think it was like 150. But the thinking is they can just, keep moseying along. The longer they, stay within the playoff run,
Yeah,
the longer my pot continues to grow to that 150.
yeah,
But it's not beneficial to give false hope to individuals to think that this is a space to where they can make a living or money on, when you have levels of insider trading, as needing to put up more, capital than compared to your average betting sports book.
yeah,
But however, with all of the market manipulation, and we stated that, um, there was a price drop after sorry, there was a price surge after Iran launched its new Persian Gulf Strait Authority website. So that's what we're going to get into. So the site was activated today, and Mojabi Khamenei, who is now the new supreme leader, publicly stated that all ships must send an email to receive transit approval, rules, and instructions under the new system. This effectively signals Iran's intentions to control and potentially charge for safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. If we remember, that original fee was, I think, $2 million. And also, we talked about how lawmakers within Iran were actually formalizing legislation to put this authority, to say this Hormuz authority, we could say, basically in action. So
yeah,
if you haven't listening to Behind the Ballot, you can piece everything together from all of our episodes. And meanwhile, as all this is going on, Muhammad, I'm sure you saw this. We saw the promotion and the starry-eyedness of Trump, Rubio, when they talked about this Project Freedom, but it was effectively paused basically hours after it was announced.
yeah,
And this is Trump, basically he put out his Truth Social post, and he was describing it as a tremendous military success, even though no ships have verifiably passed through the strait under the new agreement. And Iran retaliated by attacking the UAE and the US blockade on Iranian ports, as they still remain in place. So you have this Project Freedom where Donald Trump was having US ships escort tankers through the strait, and that then allowed for Iran to just go ahead and just start bombing all of these tankers and even targeting UAE. And Iran has repeatedly stated that it will not negotiate while the blockade continues. And Secretary Marco Rubio has defended the broader strategy, stating that gas prices are high, but not as high as they would be under a nuclear armed Iran.
That's crazy.
Because
That is
a nuclear
crazy. That
armed,
is crazy. We know
it's
gas prices just went up 50%. But if Iran
listen,
had
it doesn't
nukes,
make
it would be
sense.
a lot higher.
It's
Spare me
like,
the speculation and give. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
it's horrendous speculation, and it's kind of like everyone sees through the BS.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like we were perfectly fine before we launched this war. So now we're basically begging Iran to just open back up the strait after we bombed them for them having close to nuclear enrichment. And I even dove further into that actually, and they were sitting around 60% enrichment. You need 90%
Yeah.
to
Weapons
basically
grade.
hit a bomb,
Yeah, to
basically.
weapons grade.
So they weren't close to that. And I will say it does take weeks to months to get from 60 to 90. But however, Iran was not actively seeking to pursue those measures. Multiple US officials have stated that. DNI Tulsi Gabbard has stated that. And even when Hegseth was cornered, he stated that. He stated that the goalpost had moved to now we wanted to stop their ambitions for a nuclear weapon. Not even we wanted to stop them from continuing to enrich uranium or that they had a nuclear weapon already. No, we now just want to stop their ambitions from getting one. But yet we allow Israel to secretly have one. And I did report, I was sharing with Muhammad that Senate Republicans are actually looking to put up a resolution to basically shine a light on Israel's nuclear program, basically. So it's
Yeah.
important that Republicans are doing this in a time where their leader of the party wears a invisible yarmulke on his head throughout all of his decisions throughout foreign policy,
I
we
want to
should
add
say.
this too. With
Yeah,
the ideology they're sharing regarding why they struck Iran. It's nothing. It's done nothing in terms of deterring them. If anything, it's emboldened them to really act
it's
much more
100%
independently,
important.
independently from what the West is giving them, and also to be more bold in what they're going to chase.
Yeah,
Because
and it also, yeah, yeah,
also, they've got decent relations with the East. And I mean, China isn't going to, in my opinion, promote them to go into a full-on war with Israel and Iran and the USA and Saudi Arabia. But I do think that if Iran were to continue to get attacked, that the East would be sympathetic to it. And if things were to escalate, Pakistan, which is immediately right there, would have to consider things. Also because they've already announced that there's issues going on between Pakistan and the Taliban. And so it's then talking about, well, are we going to further escalate the geopolitical situation? We've got India and Pakistan situations. Are we just going to keep escalating this until it turns into like a nuclear bomb in terms of like militant activity?
yeah,
And I think that's something that China would want to avoid is all that heat on its doorstep, really. Because the Middle East isn't like right by China, but, it's just literally on the other side of the Himalayas. And that's something that they could either take advantage of or just wouldn't want to go down and they can get diplomatic favor for it. But point being
yeah,
is that
yeah,
I'd be very surprised to see this be escalated to a full-on ground invasion. But I'd be surprised to see. I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw something from Israel in an attempt to do so. And I mean, bringing this back to Operation Epic Fury is that they're saying that it's been a massive success. They're saying that it was all done to like deter Iran from having nuclear weapon capabilities, and it's hasn't been a success based off what we've seen from our own intelligence. I mean, Iran still has their nuclear enrichment. They're not in a peace deal for nuclear energy at all or nuclear weapons at all
yeah,
anymore, like they were
yeah,
before. When this all first started, Iran was in part of a deal to restrict and limit how much they could enrich their uranium. Obama had a deal. Trump took it away. Then Trump made the
yeah,
same deal in his first term. Then Trump takes it away his second term to invade Iran. And it's just like, well, it's clearly not, the point clearly isn't to deter them from having nuclear weapon capability. The clear motivation is something else. Israel telling them to go for it? Is it wanting to take that oil from Iran? Is it wanting to control more of what China gets resource wise because Iran's a major oil producer for them? There's a lot of things that it could be, but it's clearly
Yeah.
not for their capabilities of possibly developing nuclear weapons, in my opinion.
No, it's definitely not. And I think it's a combination of
I think
trying
it's
to
just a common,
hinder.
easy thing to say, like, "Oh, we don't want them to have nukes. That's dangerous." Like Pakistan has nukes. Pakistan, they were
Yeah.
they were literally shielding Osama bin Laden. We found bin Laden in Pakistan, and they have nukes. If they're not
Hmm.
nuking us, then like, it's literally just rhetoric in order to get people terrified of Iran having it. Because when you had the nuclear scare ages ago, the idea of a nuclear bomb was terrifying, especially after World War II.
Yeah.
You got all the boomers who were then
1,000%
getting in power. They were terrified of it.
terrifying. I
And
mean,
now
he
it's
was even telling the little kids during the press conference he had. He was like, Iran was 2 weeks away from bombing you and stuff like
I
that.
saw that.
Is going to come out of this as with a very large advantage from all of this. They're going to come out of this as a new superpower for all of this, and as well, they are going to allow for a realignment within the global structure
Yeah.
because not only will China become more powerful, as we see that they are even um, putting to the side a lot of the US sanctions and not allowing their ships to even adhere to US sanctions. So I think it's going to be a combination of China rising above as a true global power. And then you will also have Iran weakened enough. This is why kind of this war has been initiated and why Donald Trump, in both instances, tore up a level of nuclear deal so that Iran can get weakened enough so that Israel can just provide its final strike and then become and start to become the world leader within the Middle East. That's what I truly think is the scope of what this war is truly meant for. But looking at the broader analysis from sources, they frame the outcome as a significant strategic setback for the United States. And that outcome is that Project Freedom being on pause, as there is no regime change in Iran, no elimination of its nuclear or missile programs, no decoupling from regional allies, destroyed U.S. bases in the region, and a weakened alliance system and petrodollar position. All while the administration focuses on solving a closed strait problem that did not exist even before the conflict began. In short, while the White House presents the memorandum as a path forward, Tehran's actions and statements make clear that strategic gaps remain between the reported framework and current reality.
Oh yeah,
And
I believe it. I mean,
wanting to,
honestly,
yeah,
just
yeah,
the idea of trying to negotiate for peace at the same time as trying to negotiate for their nuclear restrictions. It's like those are two separate issues. You can't try to take care of the whole set at one go.
yeah. There's no way,
Uh,
no way that could happen. No way that can happen. Hold on. Oh, interesting.
what's up?
Apparently, I don't know if it's true. We can save it for Friday. Apparently, the Supreme Court rejects 9-0 bid to reconsider their striking down of the racial gerrymandering in Louisiana. Interesting.
Hmm.
But yes, to the next big, huge topic, which hopefully does not come to a city or state near you. We're talking about the Hantava virus, is what
The
I'm gonna.
the Hantava virus. I'm seeing Hantavirus in the notes.
Hantavirus is what I was saying at first, but yeah, we'll go with hantavirus. So the hantavirus outbreak and the CDC vessel sanitation program cuts. So basically, on the public health front, a serious hantavirus outbreak is unfolding aboard a luxury cruise ship, MV Hondius. And the timing has raised questions about a lot of the preparedness here within the United States. Health authorities in South Africa have confirmed the Andes strain of hantavirus, which is capable of person to person transmission and carries roughly a 38% fatality rate in multiple passengers. So the World Health Organization has now confirmed that at least 5 cases, including 2 passengers, evacuated earlier this week, and contact tracing is underway for more than 80 people who have shared a flight with one single victim. So the situation escalated when a Dutch woman whose husband died aboard the ship disembarked in St. Hela with gastrointestinal symptoms on April 24th. The individual deteriorated on a flight to Johannesburg, which is Africa's busiest airport, and died on April 26th. Additional cases have surfaced in Switzerland and France, creating a complex international exposure web involving airports, hotels, aircraft ventilation systems, and hospital chains. Cruise passengers exposed to the outbreak have now returned home. And even here in the United States, some of those individuals have come home and across multiple countries, raising concerns about wider community transmission risk. And investigators leading theory points to rodent exposure as the origin for this. And Argentinian man's hypothesis is that the Dutch couple contracted the virus while visiting a landfill during a tour in Ushuaia, which is
Who
formerly known
visits a
as the
landfill? Who
end of
visits a
the world.
landfill?
Muhammad, can you Muhammad take over the notes real quick? I gotta take a call.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. So, oh my god, I'm not sure who. Okay. No, I was just listening to what to what Mikkel was saying. I wasn't going along with our notes, to be honest. So let me find out where he picked up on. Landfill. There it is. So, investigators' leading theory points to rodent exposure as the origin. Argentina's main hypothesis is that the Dutch couple contracted the virus while visiting a landfill during a tour in Ushuaia, famously known as the end of the world at the southern tip of South America. Argentine health ministry officials have announced that experts will travel to Ushuaia specifically to test local rodents for hantavirus as part of the ongoing investigation. The ship was initially denied. The ship was initially denied docking in the Canary Islands and remained stranded near Cape Verde with infected passengers aboard, and is now scheduled to reach Tenerife within the next 3 days. After which, healthy foreign passengers will be flown home. The WHO has stated, though, it does not see similarities with the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the international alert level remains high. Now, me and Mikhail were talking, compounding the concern is that RFK Jr., in his role overseeing HHS, has fired every full-time inspector in the CDC's vessel sanitation program, the very team
Shout out
responsible for
Dodge.
investigating cruise ship outbreaks. This could occur just as the hantavirus cases began spreading rapidly at sea. For additional context, the 2024 incident in Australia saw 323 vials of deadly viruses go missing
Yeah.
from a laboratory, including nearly 100 vials of the Hendra virus with a 57% fatality rate, 2 vials of the hantavirus with a 38% fatality rate, and 223 vials of the Lisa virus, which is rabies with nearly 100% fatal. So, wait, I just want to
Absolutely
add, for those who don't
insane.
know what's so deadly about rabies, like, if you get rabies and it develops into like the late stage, you're done. You're done.
Yeah, you're done for. Oh,
Done
you're
for.
so done for.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely irreconcilable and irresponsible. The fact that RFK Jr. has gutted this much of the CDC when it comes to disease prevention and even investigation. And it is even more damning that we're going to have all of this where I don't think people kind of forgot the United States is hosting
The
parts
World
of the
Cup.
World Cup.
Yeah.
So not only which is only months away. So not only do we have this virus and all these individuals now coming home to their home countries, we now have multiple populations coming to the United States from all around the globe. So this is a petri dish for a pandemic to explode. And jokingly enough, I stated that it seems like every time we elect this man, God seems to want to throw some pain on us, and every time it seems like we have a
I,
new pandemic that starts up
I mean, the
when
guy
he gets
literally
in office.
depicted himself as Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
I mean, so now apparently, I guess we're getting some godly judgment from that, but it's just
For that
insane
mentality,
how.
absolutely, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, a 30 something percent mortality rate, and I'm pretty sure COVID at first had a lower mortality rate than that,
I
and he
mean,
was
I feel like it
even.
also just depends on the age. You know, COVID was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
damn. COVID was
100%
like
depends on
20,
the age
twenty
as
five
well.
percent for like seniors, man. Like you got COVID and you're a senior, you're dead.
Yeah,
Like,
you were basically done, and the travesties that our elected officials on both sides of the aisle did with COVID, we cannot see again as a nation, as American people, realistically. And the most likely explanation for loss during transfer to a new freezer, as in regards to these vials that Muhammad was talking about. Um, in the current cruise ship case, with all of these emergency disembarkments and enraged locals, with urgent talks continued with the Spanish Prime Minister, who they were eventually talking about bringing into the ship and docking it. But they had some hesitations, but the ship is now docked, and individuals are going home as we reported, and it's going to be highly watched
yeah,
realistically. And I felt it was very omen-ish that I was on Twitter and I literally read the World Health Organization's tweet, basically undermining the severity of what was going on and of this disease. And I feel like that is exactly what happened with COVID. It was played down tremendously, and it led to a shutdown for about 3 years that has greatly affected not just the economy, but also Americans, because just obviously you've seen on, especially with education reports, how COVID kids aren't even at an average reading level in the United States. Education has fallen at almost every metric within the
oh man,
United
it's been
States because
rough.
of COVID. So it's very rough. So to have something like this happen again only in such short time, I truly don't think that Americans are ready for this, nor are they going to allow, nor should they allow, or should we allow these levels of shutdowns to continue again, because the only shutdown that's technically going to be happening is a financial shutdown, because it's going to be so expensive to be leaving your house this summer, with this war continuing on, and reports that oil won't even get back to regular prices pre-war, even after the midterms, or even 3 to 5 years, as what some oil execs and business analysts have stated,
Right. And
and even some, yeah.
honestly, I wanted to actually loop this back to the Hana virus because I think you meant the Hana virus. So finish what you were going to say because I want to talk about the fact that we are hosting the World Cup. we
Yeah, we can that's in the I'll just finish this last segment. We'll just move right into
no. I
global
want to talk about
economy.
specifically about the health effects before we talk about the economic effects because that's like two different
Yeah,
segments.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I was just gonna touch on that. There were reports that the U.S. is facing its oil shortage in just about July, beginning of June ish,
Yeah.
and then soon we'll start to see a lot of gas stations starting to run out of gas and so forth, like we saw. And I think it was what, the 80s, the oil crisis, then something of that nature. But yes, Muhammad, continue.
Hey, beauty of living in a city. I can walk anywhere, including to work, and I will not have to deal with that. But I mean, with the World Cup, there really is a big situation here because we're gonna be having people from across the entire world. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
across
the
the
biggest
entire
World
world, man.
Cup yet. Most teams that have ever been allowed to be in it, and it's gonna be across all of North America with 3 cities in Canada, two dozen in the United States, and a few in Mexico and the major cities are really just the breeding ground for a potential viral outbreak. I mean, when we
Oh,
saw when
100%.
New York City was the first hotbed of COVID when the disease first started. And I remember when COVID first started, people thought, well, if you're going to New York City, you're probably going to get sick and you're going to die. And because of how much the fear was in place for the disease. And
Yeah,
now
pretty much.
I think that, if I know there have been other instances before where there's been viral outbreaks such as this that haven't led to global pandemics like we saw with, like with COVID and Spanish flu, but I mean, anything. Maybe this is God's judgment, Mikkel. Honestly, like I said, maybe this is God's judgment for us electing Trump as a president a second
Yeah,
time.
I mean, it very well could be. I mean,
Like, unleash
you
the
know, he talks
plague.
about, yeah, I mean, he talks about as he's, the chosen one and things of that nature,
That still
which, they
makes me
say in
laugh.
the
I
Bible.
am the chosen one. Like, man,
Right. Yeah,
sit
and
your
they
ass
say in the
down.
Bible not to, well, idolize idols or things of that nature. It should just be Jesus, God, and the Lord Himself. And it seems like he only idolizes himself. I mean, as we said, he didn't place his hand on the Bible during his inauguration, even though his wife was holding it right there. His hand was stuck right to his side. And we see
It
that
would burn him.
he's tried to make money off of off of God's name, making Trump Bibles
I
that
know.
were
What a
made
cash
in
grab. Didn't they
China.
go for like $50 too for a
Yeah,
Bible?
they were made in China.
Really? Were
Trump
they made in
Bibles made in
China?
China. I mean, that's Trump wrapped all together,
Yeah.
trying to nationalize and trying to put religion in one party or in one bucket while trying to make massive amounts of money off of it. Also, while just walking all over the sacredness of religion itself, because he doesn't give a damn as long as it lines his pockets, keeps him out of jail, and keeps him more powerful. But
I just pulled up the we'll kick off the economic segment here officially.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
as we're getting into
yeah,
the
go ahead.
topic, I want to get this underway. So, turning to the economic picture, actually, the upcoming World Cup is already being called a non-event by many in the hospitality sector. According to a new American Hotel and Lodging Association survey of members in the 11 U.S. host cities, nearly 80% of hoteliers report that bookings are tracking well below original forecast, with some describing the situation as unprecedented because, for those who don't know, it's the World Cup. Things
Yep,
get crazy.
the
They
World
filled up
Cup.
Qatar in the World Cup. Qatar, of all
Yeah,
places.
yeah. It's the most. I think it's the largest. Obviously, the largest event in the world. Soccer is the largest sport in the world.
Yeah.
So just imagine the gravity that a lot of these cities are going to face. And I got to shout out Mikey Sherrill. Got to shout out Zoran Mondami, because they have made various pieces of policy and legislation that makes it easier for New Yorkers, New Jerseyans to, one, take public transportation, because that is going to be skyrocketed because of the World Cup, and as
Oh,
well
yeah.
as in New York, Mondami is allowing for free attendance for New Yorkers for certain games. So,
Really?
yeah, shout out to
Really?
them. Yeah, yeah, 100%,
Oh
100%.
my
So
god.
yeah, certain games he said, New Yorkers are free to go. I mean, he has every right to, and they are doing what's right, because I feel like they do understand a lot of what Muhammad was speaking to. That with there being such low attendance rates, or should we say tentative attendance rate, that it's going to hurt a lot of states financially, and it's going to be a lot to claw back from, especially when you have administration that's targeting democratic states, and as well with the Strait of Hormuz that is buckling a lot of southern states. So it's really a tightrope situation with this World Cup
I'll
coming
add this
to
in
the United
contrast.
States.
I'll add this in contrast. So in regards to hospitality, I'm sure they didn't get as much as what they were expecting. But when it comes to other industries that are affected by the World Cup, it's a massive amount within the United States. Now, the company I work for example, they use storage and modular units. They're contracted to do work for the World Cup, and they do. They're not associated at all with the hospitality industry. And so it's just the economic impact of this go far and beyond hospitality. I mean, there's also the vendors, the restaurants, the food places, the clothing, and more. So while it isn't perhaps going to be as over the top or as packed as some of the people were expecting in the hospitality industry, I mean, hotel prices are still plenty up for that time period, for that time frame. And it's something that I still reflect. MJ, I just said that even though there's the below forecast of what they're expecting, that a lot of the hotels and more in that area and plane tickets are more expensive for those days than other days because it's the World Cup. And
Yeah,
you can say
100%.
that's just because they know what the event is, but it's also argue that it's due to an increase in demand. Now, it may not be the demand they saw or desired it being or thought it would be, but it's still an increase in demand than what they're usually doing. And that, and tied with the fact that this does affect other industries. You've got as I mentioned already, but since Mikhail's here, I want to double down on it. You've got the company I work for works in storage and modular units. They're contracted to do work for the World Cup. You've got restaurants, vendors. You've got other possible tech companies that somehow are going to profit off of it at any
Yeah.
possible turn. You know how they do. And just and then the more non-glamorous side of the American economy, which is just the non-tech, which is also the kind of company that I work for, and they're doing work involving the World Cup. So this is like a good shot to the U.S. economy that perhaps we do need, but I do, as we can all probably say, no. Most of the money that comes into the U.S. economy goes to the top of the U.S. The
Yeah,
0.1%. It doesn't really go much
100%.
to anybody else.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be really hard for the average American to figure out like where is their financial benefit from all of this with the World Cup and everything
yeah, like these
coming
cities
and
could like
so
make
forth.
millions, tens of millions with like just having all these people in the entire section of event of the World Cup. I mean, aside from tickets, venue costs, play everything. And it's just like, well, if in the country or the state's making all this money, what's this money being used for? Is it going to be used to line, the pockets of the guy who owns the stadium? Is it going to be used to line the pockets of, the people who are just, benefiting at the top of their class, things like that? Or is it going to go
Right.
to actually, help the government out of that state or city out to be able to improve the lives of the citizens of it? And it's always generally just goes into the hands of the privateers.
Yeah,
And
pretty much the
it's
privateers are gonna be
frustrating. It's
getting a lot of it.
frustrating. I mean, the World Cup's an amazing thing, and I'm very excited for it. And I can't wait to see what happens. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure MJ. But my home country, Bosnia, they
Yeah, they made it,
qualified
right?
second time ever. Yeah, we beat Italy in the penalties. Huge
Yeah,
deal. Huge
which is
deal.
great. No,
Yeah.
I'm definitely glad that you guys are going to be able to compete within the World Cup, one
Oh
of
man, it was
the
a nail
largest
biter. It
events.
was a nail
Yeah, I
biter.
wasn't like watching the match, but I know you and your brother were talking about it in our group chat that we have. So
Yeah.
that is nice that you guys are going to be included now into the World Cup, and I hope that you
Well, you
guys.
should watch it too, man. Watch the
No,
U.S. team.
I do watch the I do watch the World Cup. I usually just do World Cup because I'm pretty sure the soccer's in the Olympics. Women's World Cup, obviously everyone in America loves women soccer. Well, I guess you
In
could say they used
America,
to
yeah,
love.
because they're world
They
champs
used to love
constantly.
women's soccer since I would say they used to love women's soccer since the last few players have been a little bit politicized in certain ways, coming out against Trump, X, Y, and Z, whatever you want to say with it. But yeah, no, the World Cup is definitely going to be a tightrope test for the United States. And we will see what that economic boom or doom it could possibly be.
I mean, I also,
And
you talked about public transportation as well, and that was actually
yeah,
a
it's going
very
to be
big
crazy.
part of what cities are going to be considered to be host cities. I mean, in Baltimore, for example, actually, Baltimore was in D.C. as well. Baltimore and D.C. were both on track to be were considered to be host cities. But Baltimore fell through because they said that Baltimore has the hotel industry that's there needed. It has the hospitality, it has the restaurants, everything, but it doesn't have the public transportation, and that just isn't viable enough to be able to give the necessary transportation needed to all these incoming guests. And it makes sense. I mean, these people coming in from foreign countries, they're not going to be getting cars to park everywhere. They're going to be showing up to where they're
Yeah.
staying. They're going to want to get public transportation or walk. And so it's a big thing of why cities like New York City and more, Seattle, LA, have gotten the chance to get these games compared to other cities is because they do have everything that kind of fits that criteria. But one thing that I'm looking interested in, as I want to say, is that you mentioned already about the decline in fuel and how that's going to be affecting things for around the World Cup. I mean, it's said that new analysis indicates that oil production will
Yes.
not return to normal levels until after the midterm elections, and that's regardless of when the Iran conflict fully
Yes. Yeah.
resolves. So it's an
Yeah.
issue
Completely.
of, well,
Regardless.
how much of this is going to be really affecting the World Cup event, and how much. I mean, dude, we've already seen gas go up by like $1 in the last month. You
Yeah,
know?
it's gonna keep going up, and
Yeah.
they're just only trying to stay face by these BS Axios reports at the either opening or close of the market hour. Realistically, they're just trying to save as much margin they have until prices truly skyrocket.
Yeah.
And it's not just prices on gas; it's prices on everything. It's
Yeah.
prices on groceries. It's prices on gas, electricity, and all of these other utilities because we're going to be now moving to the domestic side of things. We're going to get back into what's going on with the data center boom and a lot of the data centers that have now been in the news, such as the huge one in Utah with Kevin O'Leary, which, funny enough, he did a video posted it on X, basically stating that all of the locals who spoke out in opposition for his data center were all bust in,
Bust
and he
in.
got community noted actually on X about basically stating that his data center is not going to be running on renewable energy.
Yeah.
And even I saw Microsoft is now pivoting away, is now considering to pivot away from renewable energy for data centers. And on top of that, NVIDIA is now going to get ready to roll out data centers that you can put on your home. So
Put on
not
your
they
home.
don't want it just by in your backyard. They want it for it to be attached to your home. So all of that energy that's not being used in your home will now be used for AI workload computing. That's basically what they want. They're basically just making us literal and
I'd be
physical
interested to see that
batteries.
happen. In the
No,
not
definitely look
like
it
the
up. The
ooh, that's
concept
cool, but
no,
in
the
the how they
concept is
even get
already
that
out
done.
there, and I think the concept is already out there, and they're actively pushing it. So, to our listeners, definitely look into it because, I mean, that's like a two steps, a hop, and a skip, and a jumping jack to the Matrix. When you truly, no, seriously, when you truly think about it,
Just a funny
if
saying that you said.
it's I mean, that NVIDIA chip is technically the machines in the Matrix, and how do they survive? After we black out the sun and all that stuff to try to stop them, they survive on human energy. And that NVIDIA data center that's attached to your house is going to be driving energy from your house to power AI. This is just the non-organic step to that. And once they see it works and it's adopted widely by, idiots throughout the country who think this is so great for their home and X, Y, and Z, and all the billionaires that try to push this and all this stuff, the average American and, low income American, low stature American is going to get the rug pulled underneath of them. And we've seen
I
that
think it's a far step
left
to
and right.
I think it's a far step to say the Matrix is up next because humans are not energy efficient.
Well, I wouldn't
We
say
don't
next.
make
I think
energy.
it's
Like if
just
you can harness like brain power as like highly efficient energy, maybe. But
well,
what are
we're
we
I would
gonna do?
I well to say next is
I'll say
meaning it's
if
like
they figure
1 to
that
2
out, if they
years. I'm
figure
saying
that, then
next in
sure.
like a 30, 40, 50 year down the line because mind you, we already have neural link where we already have chips being implanted into humans, which is also a part of pieces of the matrix. So it's not too far fetched out to think that within 30, 50, 60 years that future is something that we shouldn't see as a potential possibility, especially looking at like the Will Smith I Robot movie. That is also very well a tentative possibility that could happen. We have the Optimus droids rolling out, everyone having one in their home, no one working with the universal basic income, all of those things. Like, yes, that like those worlds, universes, fantasies can very much become a unfortunate reality. And one of those that we're going to talk about now is that actually, several pastors across the United States have begun speaking publicly about a secret government briefing that they received on how to disclose the existence of extraterrestrial life to their congregation. That's a shock. But yeah, it's insane, and it ties even into further, which I'll tie into myself. The missing scientist, actually. So multiple pastors have described being told that officials are preparing the public for the revelation that these beings are from another dimension and may be humanity's creators. With one account quoting the briefing as instructing them, go and tell the church they are not ready for what is coming. This story is developing, but the consistency across several independent pastoral accounts has drawn significant attention. And I say the connection to the missing scientists is because one of those scientists, I believe her last name was Eskridge, if I am not mistaken, Emily Eskridge. I do sincerely apologize if I'm getting her name wrong, but she was actually talking about how there are 25 and P52 individuals. Muhammad, have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
So apparently, P52 and P75 means present plus 25,000 years and present plus 75,000 years. And the theory is that these aliens, these worldly beings, aren't even aliens, that they are actually just ourselves, human beings from vast futuristic timelines to
Reminds me of
where,
Starfield.
yeah, basically to where their planet got ruined, devastation. There was no way out or no path forward that did not lead to that devastation, that led to one race of individuals going underneath and one staying above. The ones underneath apparently became the grays. Those I think are quoted as those P 52 individuals. The other ones are apparently more taller, human looking, blonde, hairish individuals, and those are the P50 individuals. So this
I've
is
seen like sketches of both of those actually. Now that you mention
y-
it, like the description,
yes.
I've seen that, like the blonde hair and the grays.
Yes, and it's even more important to note that they always state if they're going to point it out, it's going to be in some form of media. So, uh, great movie that's coming out this summer. Guess what it's named?
What the gray?
Disclosure Day. It's literally named Disclosure Day by Steven Spielberg about the disclosure of aliens.
And I want to add this too: the Pentagon does have a movie department. Like they have a lot of influence over like military and
It's
other
actually
movies.
insane. Like like as they say that they will make sure that you see it multiple and multiple times so that you see it in person, you're not shocked at all, realistically. But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, on the religious side of things, things may be getting shaky on that front if all of these documents start to come out. Because I know that the president has stated for the Pentagon DOJ to release more UFO files. So as they start falling out and as individuals start diving through them, as we start diving through them, be sure to catch our live episodes to understand truly what's going on in that extraterrestrial field. And now we're going to move on to technology and infrastructure space, because I do like talking about this data center boom and how it continues at breakneck speed, despite a lot of local homegrown pushback. So there's also been a project by Peter Thiel, who is leading a 140 million investment in a US startup that plans to power giant fleets of floating data centers using wave energy for both electricity and natural ocean cooling. So they want to put this in the water. I saw an image of this. I'm like, are you shitting me?
Yeah, they have to
Not
get rid of the
only,
salt from the water. I wonder how they do that. Because the
yeah, I'm
salt
like,
would
not
definitely corrode the electricity.
exactly. I'm like, not only do you have them just in,
That'll take energy.
very
Oh, it takes a lot of energy to get
large
the salt out of the water.
plots of land, one destroying the land, one driving up scarcity of water, driving up cost of electricity. We now want to put these in the water. It's like, so when they become operational, are you gonna bring them out of the water, or you're just
Yeah,
gonna leave them
just
in the
leave
water,
them in
like what
there.
happened with
Yeah, honestly, that's
like
a
what's
good
happening with
question.
SpaceX. I'm like, with all the satellites that get just sent up there and they just go offline, they're just floating around.
Yeah.
It's like, are we really going to walk down this path of further polluting our environment, our oceans, only for the sake of billionaires and data centers? The answer is yes. That's what we're gonna do. That is the plan from the United States and this administration's perspective. And if that didn't make you even more mad enough, if you're in the business analytics side of things or in college thinking about doing those things, unfortunately, Claude came out with an AI and various AI models that can basically do your job. And Anthropic released a suite of 10 AI agents specifically designed to automate first year Wall Street analyst jobs, including a pitch builder, meeting preparer, earnings reviewer, model builder, market researcher, valuation reviewer, a GL reconciler, a month end closer, a statement auditor, and a know your customer screener, effectively flattening the traditional analysis career pyramid. And I think this further plays into that need of that further plays into that court case from China where they ruled that you cannot replace an individual with AI. And even a conversation I was having with my girlfriend, that yes, Americans did shoot ourselves in the foot over the usage of AI, and how at first we were so starstruck at how easy it made things, but we never got to the full realization that it would actually replace us, and that our business leaders and legislators would not put in or even put up legislation, policies, procedures, rules to safeguard us from that. But instead, they want to maximize their profits and their margins as best as possible. And the best way to do that is with AI, because you don't have to pay them Social Security, Medicare, healthcare,
And robots can
all of
work
those things.
24/7 too. Don't forget
Yeah, they
that.
can work 24/7. They won't be late to work. There's no excuses on any given day. They will just do the job. And us Americans are being left to the wayside. And I
Listen,
think
honestly,
with
like
this,
if
yeah,
we could, if this was done properly and right, then as these jobs get more and more phased out by AI, there would be funds necessary by the money made by these AI bots to fund the people who are just lost their jobs. Or just a greater that, like, I was a big fan of Andrew Yang, and I still am. I just think he was a bit early, or not delivering the message as strongly as he could have. But with the UBI, and I do think it was largely more being early. Like now, if someone were to come out with that idea, it would take a lot more traction. But I mean, trucking is one of the largest industries in America. We're going to see that phased out. We're going to massively. I mean, trucks that can run 24/7 with minimal, with like less, lower chances of crashing and more. Huge, huge. And on top of that,
yeah,
that's just
100%.
an example. You know, it goes far deeper than that, but I just wanted to give an example because that's one of the biggest industries in America. And it's going to be an economic impact that really does devastate this country. But as you said, Mikhail, like they really don't care about safeguarding it. They don't care about putting any restrictions on
They
it. They don't
don't
care about
care.
putting any laws around it.
And
They really just want to maximize it as much as
yeah,
possible.
no, they really do, and I will have to give credit where credit is due. Actually, Elon Musk, who has been a proponent of AI, as we all know, has actually I forget the specifics because I don't have it in the notes, but I know that I did read it. But he is partnering with, I believe, XAI, and he is going to actually be investing in companies that are only pioneering ways to use AI to benefit regular Americans, regular citizens. And basically, that's good to see that Elon Musk is on the right side of the AI battle. But however, he ended up on the wrong side of the political battle.
I mean, I think he was
Um,
just trying to cozy up to Trump for financial benefit, honestly.
Yeah, financial benefit, try to get his energy tax breaks, all of those things. I remember when their partnership was first kindled, and also when it shriveled down as well. But just continuing on with these data setters, and specifically on Kevin O'Leary, who has been involved in a massive Utah Stratos data center project on 40,000 acres, and has publicly blamed professional protesters and paid activists. We should actually get.
I wonder if they got
I
the
was just Yeah, I was just gonna say we should get our one of our
Adam.
previous guests on
Yeah.
here, Adam Schwartz, get him on here because that was his whole business model. So I would love to actually possibly maybe get him on here, or maybe just talk to him offline, really about what happened
Kevin
with this
O'Leary hates this
protest.
man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he notes, he, as in Kevin O'Leary, notes that over 40, no, sorry, 90% of the vocal critics are not residents of Utah or Box Elder County, and claims a large portion of the social media backlash appears to be AI generated. However, the scale of formal opposition is substantial. More than 3,700 people have filed official protests with the Utah Division of Water Rights. The office is legally required to review every single one of those protests before it can either permit the data center to move forward or deny the project's water use change request. The review process adds a significant regulatory hurdle for the project, which is ultimately projected to consume 9 gigawatts of power, more than twice the current total electrical use of the entire state of Utah.
That's
Only
crazy. That's crazy.
one is doubling the entire electrical use of a state.
It must be massive.
Yeah, it's gonna be massive. 40, what, 30, what was it, 40,000?
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Think
40,000
about
acres.
that. If the
40,000 acres.
if the demand doubles, or that's actually more than tripling. If the demand not more than triples, if that demand more than doubles, that's going to be at least 100% increase in the energy prices for the Utah
Oh,
citizens.
100%. And it's like, is the US grid even going to be able to handle all of this realistically? Like, I mean, they're getting approved left and right. And with a Pew Research reported in April 2026 that the majority of planned new U.S. data centers, roughly 67%, are now being sited in rural areas, particularly in the South and Midwest. So often representing the first such facility in those countries. And the White House issued an executive order in July 2025 to accelerate federal permitting of data centers and prioritizing projects over 100 megawatts, utilizing, excuse me, federal lands, brownfield sites, and military installations, and streamlining NEPA and NSA reviews while offering loans, grants, and incentives. So we're seeing now that all of these AI companies are storming into all of these southern and midwestern towns and states and just propping up these AI data centers, and their local elected officials are allowing it to happen. I mean, the videos out from Utah were pretty eye-opening, as to see that truly locals do not want um, these data centers within their backyards. This
I
is a
mean, they
not
get
in
no
my
benefit
backyard
from it. They
policy.
get none. It's
Yeah, they
nothing
they
but.
get
I mean,
no
people
benefit.
would argue, oh, it's a benefit to the economy. How so? Are these people of Utah and the people who live in the states where they have data centers? Are they going to be able to get the finances, the profits from that data center? No, they're not. No, they're not. The money's just going to
Yeah,
go to the
it's like how
government.
much money, and it's like how much money and how many jobs is this these AI centers really going to create for the area, and,
Yeah,
and it's very minimal to the damage that is
the energy cost
going
alone will
to
go
be
up more
done.
than 2x
Yeah, exactly. I
every
mean,
month. You can
2x
imagine that
just in
getting the
Utah
double the bill you
alone.
used to.
Yeah, it's very immoral, the blindness that our elected officials are turning to this, and just allowing for billionaires to just run amok across our states and open fields, where we have high rising cost everywhere, especially within the South. And moving to our last and final piece for today, There were two notable controversies in Washington: a Senate GOP bill that bundles roughly 70 billion in ICE and border security funding. Also includes 1 billion in taxpayer money earmarked for Secret Service security adjustments and upgrades, which are tied directly to the White House East Wing Ballroom
Bro,
project.
that
So,
shooting was totally planned. That shooting was
oh,
totally
I
planned.
mean, I mean, the
I mean, we
fact
even I
that
forget who said it, but it was somebody who was in the admin, and like when the ballroom event all started, they're like, "Get ready for a show,"
yes,
be
yes,
careful what's gonna
yes,
happen. Get ready for a show,
yeah,
and it's
like you
like
should be careful or
no one
something like
got
that.
no and no
For
one
an
got
individual.
killed, and no one got killed. So I really think
Yeah,
this was done on purpose, just so they could say, "Oh, it's needed for the security of the ballroom for the president."
yeah, literally, and it's Trump has previously stated that the ballroom renovation is privately funded and running under budget, which he stated was below 400 million. But Democrats, including Oregon Senator Jeff Merkel, have strongly objected, calling it a inappropriate use of public funds, which it is basically is. It is 100% inappropriate use of public funds because why are taxpayer dollars going to a fucking ballroom? Gas prices are exorbitant. Grocery prices are exorbitant. Foreclosures are exorbitant. Auto loans are exorbitantly delinquent. And yet he wants to push into this bill your taxpayer dollars to fund his ballroom. Imagine if Obama did that. Imagine if Biden did that. uh, I know conservatives listening out there would be very upset, but yet a lot of them seem to be turning a blind eye due to this because they have tied themselves so closely to the Trump administration. And it's not just a political party, it's more of a personality for these individuals. And they can't seem to be able to let it go because it's all that their identity, unfortunately, has. Um, that was a little deep, but continuing,
Yeah, you really got
contin
into it there. Like, dang,
continuing
you sound
to,
really worked up
because
about this.
it's bullshit that, you have this war going on and he's over here trying to actively and secretly push into a, ICE funding bill that was stalled for 70 plus days because his House Democrats couldn't vote. I mean, his House Republicans couldn't vote on the same bill that the Senate passed. But they ended up just crunching to Democrat demands. So it's just BS after BS, nonsense after nonsense, and just hurting Americans left and right. And people don't and people that are conservatives and MAGA don't understand this. They don't realize this. The veil is still very much over their heads. No matter the amount of reports, facts, whatever you show them, it will never be good enough for them to strip themselves away from that MAGA conformity, to say the least. But continuing to move on, separately, the House Ethics Committee is investigating Representative Chuck Edwards over allegations of an improper sexual relationship with a subordinate staffer and related harassment claims involving gifts and other conducts. And I say this because there has been a related transparency push by Representative Nancy Mace. She has released records from the Congressional Misconduct Settlement Fund showing more than 300,000 in taxpayer paid settlements for pre-2018 cases, arguing for full accountability across party lines regardless of who is involved. So that should not be really a bipartisan standing ground. Realistically, I feel like everyone should want to have these misconduct settlements made known, especially on the individual who was doing the act, and they should be stripped from Congress outright. I remember when Josh Shapiro, when he was running and he got in office, there was a huge thing about sexual assault case with him, and Democrats held his feet to the fire, and he did obviously get elected as governor. But however, they did at least hold some level of accountability. Republicans did too. So I really do wish to see, especially with the continued blunders on the Epstein files and all of those good things, which I do believe actually Pam Bondi is scheduled to testify at some point soon. But still to the point that we are seeing a cabal of sexual misconduct as well as sex trafficking envelope our United States Congress. And it is troubling to see that we have members of Congress that go through these irrehensible acts and that they are pushed to the side and covered up. And that if any of us regular Americans were to go through with those acts, that we would be jailed, if not killed in many other means. But
Yeah.
yes, but then again, when you're at high levels of power and at high levels of dignitaries, you can walk on all over of those statutes and further precedents. And that is all that I do have for today, ending off with that statement and the further statements and the additional statements that I had previously. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up us for today. Mama, do you have any final comments?
Not really, honestly. I think you said a decent bit of good stuff about what's been going on. I mean, when it comes to any politician, not just Republicans specifically, but just seeing the egregiousness from the Republicans since it's Trump and how lacking of class, I should say, honestly, is the easiest way to say it, lacking of class that he is, and how they're just still defending it more. But it's been uh, interesting to see what'll happen and where they'll go from here, and whether or not that $1 billion will actually be used for the ballroom. But I don't really
Yeah.
have much anything else to say, Mikhail. So thank you all for listening. Do you want to do the sign off? Do you want?
Yes. Thank you all to listening. As always, the famed sign off. Thank you for joining us today on Behind the Ballot, where we keep politics engaged, balanced, and informative. Stay curious, stay critical, and please stay involved. I'm Mikhail Jenkins, and until next time, keep looking beyond the headlines and behind the ballot. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share. The more we can expand our message, the more that we can bring to you the best news possible. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. God bless America, and God bless you all. Have a good night.